Good evening from New York. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Journeys. Welcome to another edition. Thank you for joining us, those of you who are joining us for the first time. Tonight, I'm just going to go right into it. I'm going to bring our guest on. The lovely lady on the other side of the screen is Lorna Rainey. She is the founder and owner of the Talent Express, a boutique management company which was created in 1991 as an agency. The transition from agency to management began in 2011 and culminated in her becoming a recognized member of NCOPM, National Conference of Personal Managers, in January 2012. You know, beyond the accomplishments and so on, how would you describe this woman we have come to know as Lorna Rainey?
Wow, well, first of all, good evening, Selwyn Collins, and thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. It's a great honor to be here, to be able to tell the story of my own journey. I think I've come so far in so many ways, probably because of my ancestry, partly because of the things the ancestors taught me, my studies. I think I'm grounded, I'm optimistic, I'm encouraging, I'm supportive, and I think perceptive in a lot of ways.
Perceptive. If you were not doing what you're doing today, what do you think you'd be doing? What would you like to have tried as a career?
Well, honestly, I started out as a translator. I speak fluent German, and I was supposed to actually be a translator or work at the UN or at the very least for Lufthansa. So I probably would be doing that. I love languages, and I'm also a student of voiceover. I taught it for many years, and I still do some voiceovers from time to time.
You taught voiceover?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great discipline. Some people just come to me sometimes as a manager and say, hey, I've got a great voice. You know, I could do voiceovers, and there's so much more to it than that, you know, so.
I guess you're going to learn some of that.
Well, right? Maybe if you ask me the right questions, I might have to tell you. Sure.
Laura, where were you born, and would you give us a glimpse into your life growing up at ages 9 and 15?
I'm so glad you picked 9. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. As I say, born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, and now living in Long Island for the very first time.
Wow.
And I loved every step of the journey. I liked living in Brooklyn, although I left it when I was 4, and then moved to Queens, and really, really have a strong love affair for Queens. Just love everything about it. It's sort of not city, but yet not country. It's just got all the right elements, and each neighborhood is so very different, and it has something to recommend.
Can you just set my towards like your mouth just a little bit?
This way, like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, how's that? That's good?
That's good. That's
oh
good.
My gosh, I put up my hands and I don't have my nail polish on. I know somebody right now is going, oh no, not the nail polish again. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I went to private school, and that was a good experience for me as well, because private school tends to be very demanding, I would say. And I learned a lot of things there that I might not have learned in public school. I don't know, but I've also come to realize the benefit of a good public school education. At 9 years old, I'll never forget it. One day I was in the basement of our house because it was really a hot day, and I was trying to keep cool down there because we didn't have air conditioning. We weren't that rich. So I was hanging out in the basement by myself, and all of a sudden, this radio commercial came on that absolutely changed my life. And I'll never forget it to this day. There was the sound of footsteps, and it said, no matter where you go, you are not alone. Old Man Adler stands behind every pair of Adler shoes. And I still remember each and every word to this day. And when I heard that commercial, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to influence people with my voice, with the sound of communication and words and the nuances of words. And that's what I've been doing a long time.
What do you believe specifically that commercial that grabbed your attention?
I think just the very creativity of it and the simplicity of it. It was so simple, and yet, in spite of its simplicity, it grabbed my attention. And as you see, decades later, I still remember every single word of it. The announcer had a great, great, great voice. And thankfully, I do represent some people these days, too, with great voices. And I do still, as I said, do some voiceovers myself from time to time.
So, who did you become at 21?
At 21, I was actually a wife and mother, strangely enough.
Wow.
I had studied so many different things in school and really excelled in school. I was one of those people that you would hate because anytime the teacher announced there was a test, I was like, yay, a test! Oh, this is great! Of course, everybody hated me because I always did so well in tests. I don't freeze up, As a matter of fact, I think I really excel when the pressure is on. So I went through school and I was always in all the honors classes, honors English, honor bio, Latin, German, the whole nine. And I think my mom was kind of surprised when I decided to get married so young. And then I had my first child. And being the person that I am, I think it was destined not to last.
Yeah.
Because I just have so much inside me that I still needed to explore and learn about myself.
You mentioned your mom. Do you remember any special words of wisdom from either both or either of your parents that have helped to shape who you are today as a woman?
I think the things my mom said to me I probably shouldn't say on the air. Well, she was such a wonderful, warm, loving, selfless person. But then when she was talking to me about me and the expectations she had for me, it was a whole different thing. It was all about what I expect you to do this and I expect you to do that and don't ever do this because I don't want you to embarrass me or the family name. And she was that type of person, although she was really wonderful. So like I said, probably some of the things she said to me that I can recall off the top of my head, I should just leave them exactly where they are. But they did help me to become the person that I am. I think one of the things I probably remember the most is her brother, my uncle, where I had gotten a 99 on a Latin final.
99?
99 on a Latin final. And I was so pleased with myself. And I came and I showed it to my mom and she was thrilled. And then I showed it to my uncle and he said, you should have gotten 100. And that I never forgot because it was kind of a crushing moment.
Yes.
Because he said it not knowing that our headmaster had a rule. He said, I never give out hundreds because that means you know as much as I do. So 99 was the highest mark I could have ever gotten. But it still always stuck with me that I hadn't met his expectation. And I really wanted to. I looked up to all of my elders, my mom, my uncles, my aunts. And he never took that back. And that kind of did bother me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to fast forward a little bit. I'll come back to your earlier timeline.
That's fine.
You started an agency and then you became a manager of talent.
Right.
Does that experience with your uncle ever come into play when you are managing people, relating to them? Does that ever come into play?
I think it actually did shape me in a way because I give so much of myself. I'm very demanding about who I am and what I expect of myself. And when I do that, I do expect my talent to have that same sort of drive and the same sort of aiming for perfection. We're human beings, so we can never actually be perfect. But we should all, I do have a saying that, if you aim, for the moon and you don't quite make it, you'll still fall amongst the stars and you'll be okay. You can't aim for like street level.
Right.
And if you fall short of that, then where are you? You're kind of in the gutter. So, we don't want that to happen. So I do have that sort of a drive and determination about me.
Yeah. So, you're talking about stars, and there were some in your family.
Mm.
A grandfather who was the first black international violinist,
Mm-hmm.
a father as a pianist who accompanied the likes of Dinah Washington, Dakota Staton, and Nat King Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And then a mother who was one of the top 10 black models in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
How have you so far managed the pressure, if any, to over excel?
There has always been pressure to
Wow.
over excel, and that's why I think I'm never satisfied. I'm so driven to succeed because I feel that that is what's in my DNA.
Yes.
It's what's expected of me, and it's certainly not beyond my abilities. I can overachieve, and that's what I try to do.
You used to be a model.
I was.
Okay. And so lots of experience on the stage and on the runway and so on.
Mhm.
What moment did you realize that you were confident enough to represent you, to stand in front of a crowd and just be you? Do you remember when that happened?
I think it's a sort of a gradual transformation. You can be your own worst enemy or your own best fan, and it's really up to you to decide which side of that aisle you're going to go on. And I think for me, when I was first modeling, my first hurdle was to realize that I was pretty enough. I never thought that because my mom was so super beautiful. And I just never thought that I was pretty enough to do that. And even when I mentioned it to her, she wasn't all that happy about it. And I didn't understand until later when we had a detailed conversation about it, that the reason she wasn't happy for me to become a model was because of some of the experiences and letdowns and personal trials and tribulations that she had gone through. She didn't want that for me. She wanted me to more rely on my intellect and my abilities and my brain. She didn't want me to rely on your beauty, because your beauty can fade, and there's always going to be somebody out there who's prettier than you are. But and beauty will leave you at some point, but your intellect, that really doesn't leave you unless you of course have some.
Have you ever had a letdown in that arena, and how did you deal with it?
I had several letdowns, but the thing you have to remember when you're modeling or acting is not to take it personally. It's not personal.
It's not personal.
Right. It's just a choice that the client made, and what we say: he who writes the check is always right.
I hear that a lot in this industry. Don't take it personal. They might say you're too short, your head too big, whatever the case might be.
Exactly.
But how does one get to that? I guess it's a gradual process. You get to that point where you're able to accept it. Like, look, it's not me. It's the choice they make.
Yeah, I usually tell my talent, when you go in and you audition or you go in for your go-see, which is for print and modeling, when you go in there and you do what you do, you just leave it all on the floor. You try to make the best choices you can. If they give you direction, you try to follow that and go with the instructions. And if it's supposed to be, it will be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you leave the room, you try your best to forget it and go back to whatever your life was before you went in. You can't let it consume you, because it will.
Mm-hmm.
You'll always be thinking that, oh my God, I could have done this, or I should have said it that way, or my makeup wasn't just, well, maybe. But the casting directors, this is what they do for a living. They get paid to find the right people for the right job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in their best interest to show the client the right people. They're on your side. So they're not going to deliberately leave you out if you're the right person.
The Talent Express.
Mm-hmm.
How did this get started? How, when, and how did you come up with this name?
Honestly, that I don't remember. I really don't remember that. I do remember how it got started. I was working for a kind of a shiesty company, I would say. And I was actually the booking agent out on at a company on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided that they wanted me to sell pictures, which I was very much against, because I knew what that was all about and I wasn't going to be involved in it. So when the owner of the company called me into the office and said, well, you're either going to sell pictures or I'm going to fire you. I said, I'll go you one better. I quit. So I got my little stuff and I got up and I got out and I took some of the pictures of some of the people that I knew had some potential. I stopped at Staples on the way home. I bought some office supplies with my last $50 and I started my company.
Simple as that.
Been going strong ever since. That's how it got started.
What type of challenges you had in the beginning?
I wanted to do things the right way. So in the beginning, what I wanted to do was to build up a very strong roster so that when I started soliciting for clients, they wouldn't ask me for someone that I didn't have. So my first 2 months, 3 months maybe, was all about just looking for good talent, trying to figure out, where I could be in the marketplace. And because I was in Queens, what I did, which I think is still very smart, I targeted companies out on Long Island who I knew were underserved. So I targeted them and called them up and said, hey, I've got this agency, I've got some people. Would you please call me if you have anything going on when you're doing your next casting? And they were like, sure. It took a little while, but I broke in because I'll never forget my first big breakthrough. One woman called me from one of those companies on Long Island, the production company, and she said, we're looking for a guy with a kind of a long face, Caucasian, should have dark wavy hair, should probably be about maybe 35-ish. We'd like him to be thin, and we need him by tomorrow.
They can be specific like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. And that was a test for me. I just viewed it as a test. And you know what I said about me in tests? So I said, okay, she's trying to see whether I'm for real, whether I'm good at what I do. So the next day, I had this guy go out to her office, and he auditioned and he booked it. And they started using me from that point on. And they're still a client today.
Look, I gotta ask this. And it is really appropriate that to ask this question because on my other program, my Sunday afternoon show, I started a 5-part series of Guyanese youth in business. Mm-hmm. And so for young people who might be listening in or listening to this after, you just started this business, you used your last $50, you had to get the right collection of people.
Of people, right.
But you were patient, even though money wasn't coming in.
Because I didn't want to burn any of those bridges before I had what they were looking for. And you see, if I had gone to her in the first 2 weeks after, I wouldn't have had that guy.
So the lesson in this is to be prepared.
That's exactly the lesson. Be prepared. Know what you're doing. Do your research. Find out what your niche is. And then try your best to fill that.
So know what you're doing.
You have to.
Research.
Exactly.
Discover niche.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last one?
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. Find out what your niche is. Where is the void in the industry? And then you fill that. That's what you do.
And this applies in
across the board, in anything you do in life.
Where is the void? So the void is your friend.
Absolutely. You're looking for the void. Because without the void, you have no place to fit in. So that's what it is.
I'm a lover of words. So I am saying tonight, a void is not to let down. A void is your friend.
Absolutely.
Wow.
A void is your stair step to success.
Stair step to success.
It is. I mean, I just looked at, you have to be analytical if you want to be successful. You have to analyze. What's the landscape? What's the playing field? What am I bringing to the game? Do I have the right tools for the game? If you don't, then you need to go back, do your research, find out what tools you need to bring to the game, and then you bring those. And then you'll be successful. This
is powerful. So profound. Tomorrow I'm going to have as my guest you must in this amazing woman, Anna McCoy. And on our first meeting, one of the things she said to me, she said, Salwan, you have to be clear about what you want. and ask for it. And then she said to me, she said, I tell people, if you're not ready, if you're not clear about what you want, you can't define it. Step back, you're not ready.
You're not ready for it yet. You have to know exactly what you want.
Oh,
Because otherwise your energies are not focused in the right way. You're all scattered. And obviously what's going to come back to you are bits and pieces and fragments because you're scattered, so that's what's going to come back to you. Once you focus yourself and decide what it is that you want to do, things fall into place. People respect you because they know you know what you're talking about,
You just answered my next question. Why do talented people seek you out?
Well, it's true. We get a lot of solicitation from new talent all the time. And it's a lot of recommendations. Somebody who's with me, they know another actor who's looking for representation, and next thing you know, he's calling or sending me an email. And that's really how you build a very strong business. And it builds loyalty because those people that you stop and you take a look at their friends, they remember that too. They're like, well, she might not have represented my friend, but at least she gave him the respect of looking at his materials, reviewing his materials, and perhaps even giving him some good critique. My motto is have knowledge, we'll share.
Have knowledge.
We'll share.
We'll share.
We'll share.
It brings me to my next question, something that you believe a lot in,
Yeah.
and that is teamwork. Why is that so important, Lorna?
Because sometimes we get lulled into a sense of thinking that we know everything and we can do everything. We really can't. I could be the most gifted, most dedicated, most determined talent manager in the world. But if I don't have really great talent on my roster, I don't have anything to sell. Pardon the vernacular sell.
Yes, yeah.
I need a good team. And I have 2 other associate managers who I could not do this without. Like, each one of them fills such an important niche in our company. And each one of them has a defined role, and we each know what those roles are. So we don't really overlap or step on each other's toes. We go straight ahead purposefully, and by the end of the day, each one of us has something to add to the calendar for the next day because we've all accomplished something.
It's a well-oiled machine.
Sometimes it gets a little squeaky.
Oh.
Yeah, but we tweak it when we need to.
Yes.
If we see something that's not working so well, we talk about it and we change it.
When you meet a person, a potential, for the first time, what are you looking for? How are you sizing them?
Well, most of the time when I meet them, I've already seen their material. I've seen their headshot, I've seen their resume, I've seen video links, maybe heard of a voiceover demo. So I know something about them. What I'm looking for when I walk in the room or they walk in the room is to get a sense of their energy, to get a sense of who they are, to know that there's someone that I can work with and that my clients will also respond well to. They have to have a good personality.
Yes.
I tell them right away, I will work for you and work with you if I like you. I don't work with people that I don't like. Because it's much too much of a commitment for me to make someone successful who has a bad attitude. Why would I want to help you? You have to make people invested in you. You have to make me want to help you. And when you do that, I will do whatever I need to do to help you be successful.
What is it about talent management that appeals to you?
It's partly being able to help people achieve their dreams. There are so many people that when they find me and I talk to them, they say, I was so lost before I found you, and now I don't feel alone in the industry anymore. And the industry can be a very scary place. It's very frightening because you know that there's something going on out there that everybody else is doing, but you're not in on it. It's like everybody's having this big party in a beautiful place, and you're on the outside looking in the window, and you can't figure out how to get in. Why is everyone else in and I'm out? So when you're in the industry, it's really scary, and you need somebody to hand you that invitation and take you by the hand and pull you in the door and say, come on in to the party. It's good in here. It's okay. You have to know of course, how to act at the party. So those are some of the things that we teach is what you need to do, do's and don'ts, how to be prepared, how to make a good presentation. All these things are so very
So you
important.
see some seasoned actors or entertainers or whatever at parties, and everything seems so smooth, and they're saying the right thing. They're prepared.
Somewhere behind them is a good manager who's been working with them. A lot of people think that it's just the agents, but it's not. That's why we also say teamwork makes the dream work, because a lot of times I work in tandem with agency partners who actually do the submissions for my people sometimes. But they get my people after I've groomed them. I don't just like hand them over. I'm not a talent scout. I'm a talent manager. So I want to look through your material and see that everything is good. I want to know that you're really prepared. I want to know that you're dedicated. And so when I hand them over or pitch them to an agent, that agent should say, well, they're coming from Talent Express. I know they're good. I want to sign them right away. I had 2 people get signed today.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and those are people in California.
Congratulations. Yeah. Wow.
We're kind of bi-coastalish now.
That's beautiful.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
You know, I'm just curious about this. How bad can it go if a talent goes to a function and doesn't act right? And I don't mean raunchy, but perhaps say the wrong thing, ask the wrong question, wrong people. How bad can it get?
Well, it reflects mainly on them, not on me as much as, because then it is something that's personal.
Right.
This person went here and they did X, Y, Z. And of course it gets back to me, and then I have to have a conversation with them and find out, their side of the story and see whether or not it's irreparable. Sometimes you can do irreparable damage to yourself in the industry because as big as we think it is, it's just that small. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows who's repped by this one and who's repped by that one and who booked what last week. People keep track of these things, and
Is that small?
it is pretty small. It's pretty small.
What is one thing about you people are surprised to learn when they get to know you, Lorna?
That I'm more than a manager, I'm their friend. There are so many people that I represent, and I'm friendly with them. They invite me to their birthday parties. They call me up when things go wrong, and they want to talk. And I think that's the thing. And if you ask most of them, that's what attracted them to me as a manager. I am personal with them. I care about them, which brings me back to the point that I said before. Can't work with you if I don't like you. So
Relationships.
it's a relationship, and most times if you have a good manager, you stay with the manager for the length of your career. But sometimes you may switch off on your agents, but your manager you usually stay with.
So 1991 is the agency.
Right.
And then fast forward to 2011, you transitioned from agency to management.
Correct.
What was the trigger? What prompted you to go in that direction?
It was exactly what we were just talking about. I had some talent on my roster, and they found that even if another agent had called them for an audition, they would call me to find out what the audition was really all about. And I would tell them, because that's not my judgment call for me to make. Whether they book or not, I'm not going to stop somebody else from working. So if I can help you, I'm going to help you. Again, have knowledge, we'll share.
Have knowledge, we'll share.
So some of them said to me, you are so much more like a manager than an agent. I wish you were a manager. And I looked into it and I said, well, why do they keep saying this? What's the difference? Why am I so much more like a manager than an agent? Then when I looked into it, I discovered they were right. Because agents usually have a ton of people on their roster. And because they have so many, sometimes they can't be as personal as they'd like to be. They just have too many. So a manager typically keeps a smaller roster so that whenever they need me, I can talk to them. And that's what triggered it.
Do you miss being an agent?
Not at all. Being a manager is definitely where I'm supposed to be. I love, love, love being a manager. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about my people. I love seeing them succeed. I had gotten, I think last year, I signed one girl and was working with her for not a long period of time and recognized that this girl is really supremely talented. Next thing you know, I submitted her for Gotham and she got a recurring character on Gotham.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then there was another girl that I picked up shortly after that one, whom I adore. And she was just so nice and so sweet. And it took her a little while. I offered her the contract and she was like, I'd like to think about it. I said, okay, don't think too long. And she came back to me. She said, I'm going to sign. I'm like, okay. And about 2 months after that, I submitted her for, I'm not supposed to say, but it's a major, 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 it's like the most popular media on TV right now, that show. She's a recurring, that show. She's a recurring character on that show.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, she's happy she signed, I think. And I'm happy she signed too.
Let's take a break.
Okay.